Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the level 2 of the Pre-Bhakti Shastri course, Bhagavad Gita. We are on chapter 3 and we have finished, I think, up to verse 14. Any of you would like to just share what your understanding or your just a revision of chapter 3 done so far? Or you have any suggestions related to the speed, please let me know.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, Anjali Mataji.
So when I understand that you're saying, that in short, it's also a little dumb to ask you this question, but I'd like to ask you any which ways. So the thing is that, okay, what I'm understanding is basically you have to surrender completely. And with devotion, you reach much faster than with any other way. But when you talk of Samkhya Yoga, it is just in my mind that I want to ask you, what exactly are you referring to when you are talking about if you take the path of Samkhya Yoga? Because, okay, Samkhya Yoga, Kapila is talking about Purush, Prakriti, the evolutes of Ahamkar, Manas, Chitta, then the Sadgun, Rajagun, Tamas, and then the Gyan Indriyas and the Tan Mantras and all that. But when you are talking of Samkhya Yoga, are you talking of taking the path of Ashtanga Yoga, or what is it that people follow in Samkhya Yoga to reach there? Is it that they become so aware from the senses to the, like they use sound, they use, I don't know exactly what you are referring to when you are talking about the path of Samkhya Yoga.
So Sankhya Yoga, from what I understand, Mataji, Sankhya comes from Sankhya, which is number. And it is basically speculation related to what is real and what is unreal. So, Neiti, not this, not this. So, the path to coming to the final understanding that Krishna is everything, they follow the longer path of they want to know exactly what is Krishna, what is not, or so what is real, what is unreal. So this is only my understanding. I am really not an expert, Mataji. Like you said, I am not an expert to answer this question. But from my understanding so far, Sankhya is related to just speculating about what is real, what is unreal, and delving deep into the subject, the philosophy behind this Krishna consciousness. So Sankhya is basically the longer path where you have to keep on speculating about the material world and what is real and what is unreal, basically the nature of the soul, and delving deep into the theoretical aspects. So that is what I understand from Sankhya. It is certainly not the Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga, Mataji, will be studying in chapter 6. So Ashtanga Yoga is related to the eightfold path, which starts with all those, the different yama, niyama, pranayama, pratyahara.
I am aware of all the eightfold path of Ashtanga Yoga.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, yes, you go through yama, niyama,
Right.
asana, pranayam, pratyahar, and everything you go through.
Right.
But those are the different ways where you actually get more closer to self awareness, rather,
Yes.
not more than realization. That would be extreme to say, so to say. But and when you see, for me, Ma'am, I understand consciousness as like you're saying, put a figure to it, put a human form to it, that's what you are saying. And then you said that when you were also practicing, you also had some kind of skepticism as to put a form to it
Divinity.
initially. Yes. So, what I'm understanding here is, for me, Krishna is a name that you are giving to consciousness, and you're putting a form to it for one to identify better with the form rather than anything. And you're calling it Krishna consciousness. Now, when Janak got realized, when so many Ram got realized, so when you are talking of Krishna in the form, this form was created by who? This form is also
No,
created
Krishna was never created. So
when you
actually,
are talking
as
of
per,
the
let me
form of
just
Krishna.
yeah. So that, what is happening is there are many impersonalists and personalists. So impersonalists are considered to be Mayavadis according to Srila Prabhupada, and the basis for him to say that is basically what I understood from whatever I have been going through so many classes, and it's still never enough. It's like a small drop in an ocean, whatever I understand. But what I have clearly got is that impersonalism is what is the the philosophy of people who think that God is basically just a divinity or an energy or a some kind of a power or something. And Srila Prabhupada has if you read the Bhagavad Gita as it is purports in detail, you come to know with great clarity that actually God has a form, and that form is Krishna. And the divinity that we think that Krishna is a form given by some human being, or Krishna is basically just a human being, and he has just got some powers, or someone has written this book using Krishna's name to convey who a divinity is. Well, that is not what Srila Prabhupada has said, and he has clearly quoted all different scriptures to make it very clear that as we go now along the different chapters, if you can stay with us patiently till chapter 18, and if you also attend the Bhakti Vriksha classes, you will be able to see how Srila Prabhupada has clearly brought out the fact that people who are at the level of the Brahman realization, that is where they are only able to see God as a divinity or a power or an energy. So that is actually as per the personalists a lower level. But what happens is that impersonalists, so those who want to believe that God is basically just an energy or a power or culmination of the consciousness, such people, they say that the impersonalists or Mayavadis will proclaim that those who give a form to God is just for their own convenience, and actually God doesn't have a form and he's just a divinity, and people just give him a name and a form. So that is a huge difference between impersonalists and personalists. So when you come to Krishna consciousness as brought forward by Srila Prabhupada, we accept that God has a form and we are just minute sparks. We are part and parcel of God, and God is, you can't compare him to any human being. So we, although he has a form, the only he is basically, why do we say that he is Krishna and he has a form, and that is his original form. We believe that once you come to Krishna consciousness and you read Srila Prabhupada books, and once you read all the references and you come to really understand what he's saying, what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that is when we come to the Krishna consciousness real understanding, where you're able to see that we have limited understanding. We are also cognizant beings. We also have understanding of our own body. We are struggling to understand the whole universe, but we can never, because Krishna is the is a person. He's got a person. He's a person because he is cognizant of everything and he has all the personal features. And so we believe in Krishna consciousness, that Krishna in his original form comes to the earth as Krishna himself in that incarnation alone. Whereas so many other, the all other avatars are very close in different degrees, and there is, the great detail as to what is the degree of the Krishna comes in how many, and how close to Krishna himself he comes in different forms. So this is all very very detailed, Mataji, and as we go delve deep, we can read more and more books and understand more and more scriptures. But so what I would like to say is, you can there is nobody forces anybody with any opinion.
No,
You
no.
can just stay
Uh,
with where you are,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
can just explore and listen to what Srila Prabhupada is saying. Because to me, like I had told you earlier also, it took me time to first of all look at Srila Prabhupada as, the way we respect him as a god himself, right? In the temples of ISKCON, you will always find Srila Prabhupada. He is also revered. So we believe that firstly, to come to a clear understanding of God, and to understand that he's a person, and to understand that he that Krishna is what are the different forms. Even the deity is a representation of Krishna, is actually Krishna himself. And the name Krishna, when we say Krishna, we say the name and God are the same. There's no difference between name and God. And so many other concepts are brought to us by the gurus. And so we give the guru an equivalent position of Krishna. We don't consider the guru to be Krishna. But the guru is certainly God, is a representative of Krishna, because Krishna reveals himself through the guru. So that is the reason why, again, in this movement, the guru is of utmost importance, because it is not possible for us, with our limited material senses and our material understanding, to understand divinity. We have to look at it through the scriptures. So that is the huge difference between the general concepts and the beliefs which impersonalists go through, and personalists, as in ISKCON movement, is. And people think that ISKCON is just created by some human being. Again, it is not. As you study more and more and you delve deeply, you can see through the scriptural references that it is basically brought forward by those who are in the disciplinic succession, as in they have a very deep understanding of the scriptures, which are like so vast. The scriptures which we are referring to includes the Brahma Samhita, it includes the Garud Puran, it includes all the Vedas, the Upanishads, and you can see references to so many different scriptures which Prabhupada makes. And he goes through so many, the different devotees, pure devotees interpretations. So it is really worth, I feel, worth the effort to really understand the way Prabhupada has explained the Gita and the Bhagavatam, because I feel it really gives an understanding which is beyond us, without the help of such a person who has such in-depth understanding of all the scriptures, Mataji.
So I accept what you are saying totally, and I do understand that giving a form makes it more personalized and also easier to surrender to and easier to identify with. But what I'm also asking you is Krishna, the whole Krishna consciousness, not within you rather than without? I mean, to make a separation and put Krishna outside of you and revere him outside rather than inside is my question. I am not saying it is right or wrong. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not trying to debate on that. All I'm trying to say is, do we not have to jagrit karo that Krishna within us? But if we are always looking out, how are we going to do that?
So the thing is that, we have to look within, certainly. Spirituality always begins within, right? Transcendentalism begins within, because we are not in a position to see our mind. We're not in a position to see our soul. So it always begins with looking within. And that's why we have to, the chanting that we're talking about, when we keep chanting the Lord's name. And again, I would like to just make one more point. It's not like we are giving a form to God so that it becomes easy for us to think of him. Actually, God has a form, and he is lovingly calling us back. And this whole material world outside us, is just the energy of the Lord himself. And the spiritual world is where Krishna is as a person. He's there. So we will keep, there's a whole Goloka chart which talks about how, this huge vast universe, and the universes are expanding constantly, and the extensions of Krishna, as in the four Vishnus, are there. We have four Vishnus, which are not four, three Vishnus. We have the Karano Dakshaya Vishnu, the Kshiro Dakshaya Vishnu, and we have, the Mahavishnu. And all these forms in more deep, detail. Even I'm still studying, I'm still, grappling with all that. And it is so in depth, that eventually you really understand that Krishna is a person, and he is outside in the sense that he's in the spiritual world in his original form, with his pure devotees, and he's always surrounded with them. So, and he, and he is, he's so unimaginable. You can't imagine the him, because the whole material universe is actually an extension. It's his energy. He talks about the entire material world being his lower energy, and he talks about all the jivatmas being his higher energy. And we are all, the material world is like a small part, and the whole reason why we as souls are trapped in this big material world is because we wanted to enjoy separately from him. that is the whole reason, the point behind why Krishna is, forced to create. Because, for example, a son of a father insists that I don't think I need to be under your shelter. I want to go out on my own, and he insists. Although the father knows that the best place for him to be is within his, his territory, near him. So that is how we, entire all the spirit souls which are right now in the material world, we are all basically criminals, is what the understanding is. And Krishna is through the Bhagavad Gita. He's given us these scriptures, and these scriptures come to us when we are ready, and we start understanding it when we are open to understanding the scriptures. And then that is when we begin our real spiritual journey to back to Godhead. So spiritual, Prabhupada says we're going back to Godhead, or back to spiritual world, to the place where we really belong, and where we understand our constitutional position as a servitor of the Lord. So this is a whole philosophy actually behind the Bhagavad Gita. But impersonalists and Mayavadis and so many different philosophers, they try not to put it out so clearly, because people are not ready for it. They are not ready at all to take Krishna as a supreme Lord. They still want to lord over the material nature. They still want to think that I am actually equal to Krishna, or when they think that when I get liberation I will become one with the Lord, and they want to believe that I am Lord. And that is purely Maya playing tricks with you. So the basic the ultimate truth which the Gita is saying is hidden and covered by by those philosophers who are impersonalists, who keep trying to portray that divinity actually is formless. So that is the whole difference. And then even when we talk to new people who are just coming to Krishna consciousness, we are very wary, because we know that they are of the firm belief that God is probably formless, and people are just giving them a form for convenience. But that's not it, right? As you keep studying deeply, you come to know about so many details about how God actually has a form, how he is there lovingly waiting for you to come and accept him in his personal form, and give him all the love in his personal form. And about inside and outside, God is within and without. He is everywhere. Some people, they will focus on the God within. That's beautiful. That is understanding the Paramatma form. That is the second step. The first step is Brahman realization, where you are looking at God as an energy, and you think, okay, he is just the power, and it's just a divinity. And then the second step, when you really go closer and closer and closer, you start feeling actually he's there within me, and you realize the Paramatma sitting right within you and trying to actually guide you and pull you towards, come look at me, I'm here right within you. And then there are people who do this yoga, they realize him. And the difficult part of the yoga is that they get distracted by the siddhis. As they realize the God within them, they feel so great about themselves, because they start getting siddhis, and they get caught up there. They get caught up and they get lost in that journey, where they don't realize the ultimate goal is to actually go to Krishna, the person. So that is why we understand, as when you come to Krishna consciousness and keep on listening and reading and listening and reading, that Krishna is a person, that is the final and the highest realization. That takes time. It's not really easy. I understand, because I have gone through these different levels of understanding, and I'm still grappling actually to get it fully, because it's beautiful and it is nice. I keep listening and trying to understand and refer to different scriptures, and I try my best not to make my own interpretations. And as Prabhupada says, I avoid listening to impersonalists and Mayavadis who are who basically try to stop our understanding Krishna as a person. They keep trying to cover it, that lust or the desire to enjoy separate from Krishna, which is called lust. They keep bringing that up. They make that alive. So we need to burn up that lust. Only then we become pure. Our consciousness, when it becomes pure, only then we can actually see the real divinity, which is Krishna, the form, the person Krishna, who came in his original form on the earth to give us a Bhagavad Gita, which is again the literature form of him, of him only. So when we study the Bhagavad Gita, we are actually studying Krishna. And Krishna is not just any person who got some yogic powers. He is God himself. He says, I'm God, and he's not lying, he's not joking, he's God. So that is the understanding. And we can actually understand the Bhagavad Gita as it is only when we look at it with that eye. When we are able to see the way Arjuna is able to see Krishna and say, oh, yes, you are the Lord. When we come to chapter 10, we will see how Arjuna will say, oh, yes, I understand that you are the supreme Lord. You are, everything. The whole world rests upon you. And then who is he talking to? He's talking to Krishna there right in front of him, the person. And Krishna says, I am God. I am the string, and like the pearls are on the string. I am that, that divinity. I am that person. I am God, he says. And if you can't accept that book as it is, where you can see Krishna as God, then the whole understanding gets corrupted, it gets polluted, it gets contaminated, and you're actually being carried away by Maya, which is what is Maya's job. She wants to carry away people because she wants to test you to the maximum before you're ready to go back to spiritual world, where you know that Krishna is there, where you know that you're part and parcel of him, and where you're able to you know that you are actually able to relate, you're able to see how beautiful your existence is because you're part and parcel of him. Number one, you're part and parcel of the divinity or the Krishna himself. Number one. Second, you understand that your role is so magnificent because you are actually a part of God's divine plan, of Krishna's plan. And so you feel very special, and you do everything in a very special way once you understand this position of yours in relation to Krishna the person. So and that you just have to keep listening, and when you keep listening and enjoying, gradually the reality will come to us. It will be revealed. Krishna says, dadami buddhi yogam tam. He says, I will give you the intelligence. Once you accept me and you see me for who I am, and you try to understand me by constantly thinking of me and listening to me and listening about my leelas, and you understand my transcendental birth, you understand that Krishna is not a human being, that Krishna is transcendental, that his birth is transcendental, his activities are transcendental, and you start reading about him, you want to know more about him, you're fallen in love with him, and you just want to keep on listening about him. When you reach that stage, Krishna says, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. I will give you the intelligence by which you can thereafter come to me. You just need to begin. It's just the process of beginning. And then, you will be, Krishna will show you. He will guide you. There's nothing anybody has to do about it. The moment you start giving in and listening in complete surrender, and you come, with the desire to know Krishna, he will give you the intelligence. So there is nothing much to do about it. Just keep listening and trying to understand and loving Krishna. That's it.
Thank you.
I hope, Mataji, I've answered your query. Of course, as I told you, I'm not really the master of anything at all. I'm just a beginner myself. But I can see how beautiful it is, and otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here sharing in the level 2 class chapter 3 right now, because
Yeah.
I can see how important it is for people to come to know this truth. And I also see that everybody cannot get it. So I'm actually teaching Bhagavad Gita in school also, very fortunately, but through some coincidence I'm able to do that. I'm a school teacher, and I can see that everyone really can't get it. And then the only verses which give me solace is when Krishna says that bahunam janmanam ante, only after many births, and manushanam sahasreshu, among thousands and thousands of people, only one can understand Krishna, because they're not ready for it. The whole reason why we're here is because we wanted to turn our face against Krishna and not accept him as a person. We have wanted to lord over the material nature on our own. That's the whole reason why we are trapped in the circle of births and deaths. So as long we keep on to that kind of a mentality, we will just keep having births and deaths. When we want to escape birth and death and we want to go back to Him, then only our lusty desires will burn away. When we accept Krishna, and He keeps saying that Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, just continuously you think of me, and I will show you the way to come to me. Yes, Mataji, I hope that was.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry to take your time.
No, it's okay, Mataji. I'm sure everybody else who had joined also would find it useful to listen. So these are based entirely, once more, I want to pay my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and and his enlightening books and his lectures are the source of knowledge for all of us in this, who are lost in this dark, ignorance-filled material world. I pay my humble and respectful obeisances to the beautiful deities of the ISKCON Mangalore Shri Shri Radha Govinda Temple, to the founder Acharya, his disciple Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, his disciple Temple President, His Grace Namnishtha Das Prabhu, and my teacher, as I'm a Bhakti Shastri student myself, my teacher, Aishwarya Mataji. Let's quickly pray. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथन्वितं तं सजीवम्। Yeah. सा दैवतं सावधूतं परिजनं सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादन सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay. So let's begin with chapter 3.12. Today I'm not going to do any revisions per se because I would like to at least try and finish the chapter as much as possible. So in the verse 3.12, Krishna says, Ishtan bhogan hi vo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha taidattana pradayaibhyo yo bhunte sena eva saha. So Krishna is saying that in charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods are there. So like I was saying yesterday, people they think that everything is happening by itself, but there are demigods who don't have material bodies, who have other special bodies, and they are also in the material world, and they are servitors, they are pure devotees, and they are all servitors of the Lord, and they are doing all their duties of taking care of each and every element which you see around you in nature. And when they see that we are performing our sacrifice by understanding our duty, they will be supplying all the necessities that we require. Therefore all the things we require in terms, whether it is the rain or the right temperature, the heat, the cold, as per our constitution that we have been given, the material bodies that we have been given, all necessities are supplied to us by these demigods. And he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to demigods in return, stena. The word stena means thief. So, like I told you, these Krishna actually uses very strong words in this chapter. He says that whenever we are just enjoying all these different bounties of nature without offering them in return, actually, this offering is a very strange thing. It's like, suppose you go to the river Ganga and you just take some water and then you thank the river Ganga for being there, for, you thank her for the water, for her divinity, for her presence on earth and everything. You just thank her from your heart. And what do you offer? You just offer the same water back to Ganga. So it's like that. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. You just take it and you offer it. And then He accepts it. And that's all He actually asks. We have all the bounties and all the prosperity around us simply by accepting that He is there. He is a giver. You just have to accept that. And when those who don't accept that, those are the people who want to lord it over. They want to lord it over the material nature because of which they're trapped here in the first place. So that is why, the because of such attitude, we have all these extra heat, extra, less rain, more rain. Nature, the connection between nature and sacrifice performed by human beings is not understood by science and can never be understood. So that is where we are coming to 3.13. In 3.13, Krishna says, Yajna Shishta Shinah Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilvishaihi Bhunjate Te Tvagham Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karanat. So Krishna is saying that the devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin. So, as I have said again and again, in 3.12 and 3.13, we can see Krishna uses the word for sin, stena, as in sin, and he's talking about agham, papa, which means again sin. So, those who are preparing food for personal enjoyment, they're only, they're basically eating sin. So that is what Krishna is telling us clearly over here. And so that was 3.13. in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 5.32, what we see is that, right. So it is said that, I just would like to make a reference to this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 5.32, where Krishna is where it is said that Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittamanti. So this one I had talked about yesterday. So we cannot look at Krishna, the person, as a person like us. He is God Himself, the Almighty. He is a person, He has a personal form, but He is God Almighty. And we can't try and relate, we can't think that He has also a material body like us. First of all, He is Almighty. So He is, no one is second to Him and no one is like Him. And He's not just a mental creation or a concoction. He exists. He is there. Krishna is very much there. And it says that it said here that Krishna is saying, I, Krishna Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, Satchidananda Vigraha. Krishna is Vigraha, which means form. What form is He? He is Sat Chid Anand. He is a combination of Sat, Chit, and Anand. So Sat means, it's basically when you get Brahman realization, you're only aware of the Sat part. There is no Chit, there is no Anand, there is no bliss. Simply, God is energy, there's no bliss in that. That's why people who sit for hours and hours meditating and trying to do Ashtanga yoga, there's no bliss in that. I've seen people who keep on going for these different, forms of meditation, the Sahaj Yoga, or whether it is, what is that, Vipassana and all that. They lose out on the bliss part of it because they're still stuck in that Sat. And then when you go higher, you realize the God within you, the Paramatma within you, that is also an extension of Krishna himself. Then you are in the Sat and Chit mode. And only when you're able to see Krishna as a person, you're able to see how divine he is, how special he is, that that is when you also start getting Anand. And then you actually realize yourself, because you are also Satchidanand, because you are also part and parcel and same in quality as the Lord himself. Only difference is that we are cognizant only of our body and we are just a small part, and he is like the supreme. He is cognizant of everything. He is omniscient. So Krishna is saying that I here it is said in this verse, I worship Govinda. I am worshipping Govinda, who is a primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, and substantiality, and is thus full of dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure, Krishna, possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all organs. Very difficult for us to imagine all this. Actually, he eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual as well as mundane or material. So every limb and every part of Krishna can act as every other part. That's because he's transcendental. This is called omnipotency, which I think yesterday also had made a reference to. So he can actually speak through his breathing. Can anyone think about that? We may think that, what nonsense. What do you say? How can you say that the Lord can speak through his breath? Can we breathe and speak through the breath? We can't. But Krishna actually speaks Vedas through his breath. And he can impregnate with his eyes. That is, so that is Krishna. He is transcendental. He has a form, but the form is not material. It is transcendental. So that is a huge difference. And he is a supreme controller and a supreme enjoyer. And if you don't basically, so we were talking about the cycle yesterday, the cycle of sacrifice. The cycle of sacrifice is really important. And, the analogy given in one of Prabhupada's lectures is that of it is like an antiseptic to a disease. Just as, when there is, like, for example, we had this whole COVID, and people who, who take vaccination, which is, I don't know how perfect the COVID vaccination was, but there were many big epidemics which were cured simply by use of these vaccines. So similarly, when we offer the food to the Lord, simply offering and soulfully telling Krishna, can you please bless this food? And I'm thankful. And you accept his greatness and his glory, and you are grateful. And then you have that food. Krishna actually says, I have accepted it. He says, I've tasted it. It's not, because Krishna can taste just by he can just taste it by looking at it. He's already tasted it. So Krishna has already tasted the food as soon as you offer it with love. He says, just offer it to me with love. When you, and with acceptance that he's there as a person, he's tasting my food that I have offered with all my love and affection. And when he has tasted that, it becomes prasad. And then we don't say eat the prasad, just like you eat any other bhoga. You don't eat, you honor, because now you know that this is food tasted by the Krishna himself. Because Krishna is in the deity form. He is there, right there. And he is very benevolent to be there in deity form in front of you. And you taste the prasada, and then you become resistant to material affections. That is the reason why we need to purify ourselves by constantly only eating prasada. Otherwise, you're only eating sin. Because then, why sin? Is because you're only going to get further and further entangled in bondage when you eat food which is not offered. Because the food will always have, so many connections to it. The consciousness of the person who has made the food, or the consciousness of the people who have been carrying the food and putting it in the shop, and everybody. And also there are little germs which are being killed. When you're washing it off, you're killing some germs. And there are some, there is always so much of sin attached to just that eating process. But the moment you offer it to Krishna, then you are just doing a simple act. You are no longer born. It's amazing, actually. This concept of karma, vikarma, and akarma is so amazing. It's all about consciousness. Where is your consciousness? The moment your consciousness is in Krishna, you're in Krishna consciousness. When you're eating, also you're offering and eating. There is no more sin anymore. You actually free yourself from bondage. And without realizing this, any other kind of understanding, which is impersonalist or Mayavadi or atheistic or agnostic or whatever other form you are in right now position, and you're actually eating sin. Because why? Because you are bound by its reactions. There will be positive and negative reactions, anyway. If you're also giving food to people, you're doing some good deed, you have to, you are bound by the positive results, and you have to take birth just to enjoy the positive results of the actions that you have done. So both pious and impious deeds are both considered to be bondage. And you can be free from it only with Krishna consciousness, or by raising your consciousness to the highest level of understanding Krishna as a person. So that is what 3.13 is saying. So coming once more, the 3.14 is mainly the cycle of sacrifice, which I think we had done yesterday. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhavaha yajnat bhavati parjanyo yajna karma samudbhavaha. So this is 3.14 is telling us that it's talking about a cycle of sacrifice. So it is a cycle. We are living on food grains. And what is basically food grains? Whatever we are made up of is because of what we are eating. Even those who are meat eating, for that matter, even meat eaters basically eat the meat, and that they get that, whatever animal or plant is also feeding upon something coming from the ground, from the grains. So it is, after all, everything, our energy is coming entirely from the grains that we are eating. And therefore, what we should do, when we are getting this energy from the Supreme Lord, by the supply of food stuff which comes from him, so that energy should be utilized in the service of the Supreme Lord. That is called sacrifice. That is called yajna. So we're using our energy for the Lord. That is called yajna, or sacrifice. So, we should be strong enough to offer sacrifice, and that is why it's called a cycle. By sacrifice, the demigods will be pleased, and all, the sacrifice we do ultimately goes to the Lord, so the Lord will be pleased. And then there will be sufficient rain, and there will be production, and again you will eat and you will gain strength. And you will keep on, initially striving for your material sense gratification, and eventually you will come to understand Krishna, and then you will start striving for Krishna's gratification. You will understand your position, and then you will go back out of the material world. So these things require the basic understanding of you're a soul, you're not the material body. There is a huge spiritual world, many times bigger than this small material world, which is like a jail inside a huge city. And when you are ready to go back to that spiritual world without causing a disturbance there, by understanding your constitutional position in relation to Krishna, the person, then you go back and you're free from the cycle of birth and death. Till you don't come to that realization, you have to go to the cycle of birth and death. You will be serving, Maya instead of serving Krishna, till you understand that what is your duty, what is your real duty, and which comes through understanding the scriptures. So yajnartha karma, we should do work, in terms of sacrifice for Krishna. Yajna Purusha means Vishnu, right? So, for example, you can take the example of when there's a business, the government gives you license to start some business. And when you do the business, you're supposed to do something which will satisfy the government. You can't do something whimsically. Similarly, the Vedas, the law abiding persons, they follow the codes of the Vedas and the scriptures. And if they don't, then basically they're criminals. And then, therefore, they deserve to be punished. Therefore, the work should be yajnartha. Work should be yajnartha. That's what the important term which we need to understand. And performing without the direction of the Vedas is what is called vikarma. Whatever else you do without understanding scriptures and following the injunctions will just be simply vikarma, which is against the scriptures. And there are, most of the people are in that stage. So that is the understanding. So right. So if you don't follow this cycle, I think that comes in the next verse. Let's see. So in 3.16, Krishna says, Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayurindriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. So here Krishna is saying, my dear Arjuna, here he is giving us a warning. One who does not follow in human life, if you don't follow, as in you can also look at it as understand, you're given this human life. You're given the consciousness to actually strive to understand who you are, your purpose. You're given opportunities to study the Gita. You've been given gurus who are representatives of Krishna to come and tell you what he really is. And still, you don't follow. You don't want to follow. Why? Because you're still overcome by lust, by your own material desires to lord over the world, material nature. So then, if you do not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, which is established by the Vedas, which comes from the breathing of the Lord Himself, and you're not accepting all that, you say all that is just humbug. I don't believe that. I just believe in energy and in your Brahman realization or something even lower the agnostics and atheists. Then Krishna says in this verse of the Bhagavad Gita that it certainly leads to a life full of sin. Because why? Why is that so? If you really understand, it's not like a warning or a scary thing. Krishna is clearly simply saying that when you're living just to satisfy your own senses, then the life as a human being is a waste. It's like you're given one, suppose you're given one iPhone and it has so many capabilities, and then you just use it as a door stopper. You just use it as a paperweight. Now you're just using the human life just for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, just like animals. Then Krishna will be like, might as well, you want to enjoy the material world with your own material senses, might as well go back and be an animal. That's what your desire. Fine. Krishna gives us independence, make choices. Your choice is to just enjoy your material senses and not understand your higher purpose. And when the Gita has come to you right in front of you, and I'm telling you, and still you don't follow, then you're fit to get back into an animal body where you can nicely enjoy. You can sleep as much. You can see a dog on the street. When I drive to school, I see the dogs is so peacefully sleeping all day. And then you're like, I wish I could also sleep, right? So then, they just, there's nothing to bother them. They just sleep all day. They can eat as much. They can, they can mate. There are some birds which mate like 20 times in the day. Some people are only interested in mating. They're running after only how to find a, partner to mate. And that's so temporary. And they're not even coming to the realization that this is just temporary. It's like, they don't rise above these animal tendencies. Of course they were animals, so those tendencies are there, but they don't strive to rise above. They get opportunities but they close their eyes to that. So such a person is not utilizing the human body the way it is meant to be utilized, which is to raise your consciousness. An animal or a plant has not been given the capacity to raise the consciousness. They are not given any choice. They don't have the choice to go and understand the scriptures and realize that this is a material world and we are actually in bondage. All these things are not possible in the animal or plant or the other bodies. It is only when we get a human body, sometimes even demigods, they long to get a human body, because here we can straight away get bhakti and go straight to the spiritual world. We're no more trapped in the material world at all. And so it's a blessing. And what are we doing? we are living our lives in vain because we just want to satisfy our material senses by hook or by crook. And we don't want to open our eyes to understand the scriptures. We don't want to listen to Bhagavad Gita. We don't want to listen to, the idea of seeing Krishna as a person to whom Krishna, we should surrender because he is a father of everyone. He is a loving father, a doting father of everyone who really wants us simply to get free from this material body, which is made up of 8 elements, 5 of which are gross and 3 of which are subtle. He wants us to get free from all 8 of them, and then just become pure spirit soul, where we understand what is our purpose, and that which is to be part and parcel of him, and to be a part and parcel of his divine plan, and that majestic, the truth, the ultimate truth, that realization he wants us to have. But we don't have it. I mean, he has to keep repeating it million times, and still, we are still struggling. After so many births getting the human body, we are still struggling to understand because we are not yet ready for it. We've come through so many bodies. We've been all the different animals. We've been all the different plants, and now we got the human body. Now we have to really, really, really wake up. So from 3.70 to 3.35, it's all about Nishkam Karma Yoga and how one should set a correct example. Why we should set a correct example. So Nishkama Karma Yogi may conclude, my prescribed duties are meant to bring material reward, but I do not have any material desire in this life, nor do I desire Swargaloka. I know I'm not this body. So why should I need to perform my prescribed duties? So in the verses 3.17 to 3.32, Krishna is going to explain why a person who is freed from material desires, should nevertheless perform his duties. So it's not that, okay, now I don't have any material desire, so why should I do anything? Let me just sit and do nothing and only pray to Krishna. He will provide. Of course, he will provide, but then that is not the way to go. You have to perform your duties. You need to set an example for the others. You can't be sitting without performing your duties because we are bound by this material body. We need to take care of it till we get our ultimate, realization. So 3.18 till 26, that is now whatever we're going to discuss, is also the answer which Krishna is giving for Arjuna's argument that if I fight this war, there's going to be destruction of the entire family dynasty. So, this entire question's answer is also going to be given in this section. So let's see how Krishna is going to explain. Let's look at 3.17. In 3.17, Krishna is saying, yes, यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते. So Krishna is saying that, but for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, that is the understanding that you're a soul and your duty is to serve the super soul, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Like I was giving you the example of maybe say Valmiki. So Valmiki, when he could not even say the word Ram. So many people are there. If you just give them the Maha Mantra, they won't be able to say it. They say, "Come on, let's say the Maha Mantra. It's a very powerful mantra, and it leads us to our spiritual realization, and it will, it will burn away all your sins." But they will not be able to say it. They will run away. No, I don't want to do that because they're not, they're so full of the sinful tendencies, lusty, desires. So they're not ready. So Valmiki, he was not ready. He was not able to say Ram. And then he was asked to say, okay, fine, you say Mara. And he said Mara, 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 Mara for so many thousands of years, because those days the lives were so long. They had thousands of years of, the lifespan was that much. And so he was able to say Ram, 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 Ram. And the name is so powerful that he got realization. And then he was actually, Narada thereafter asked him to write the Ramayana, in which he was able to see the whole Ramayana as it is. He was able to experience the whole Ramayana as it is and put it down for us to, understand today. So this is what I was talking about. That person who is self-realized, he has actually nothing more to do. That is what 3.17 says. That one who is taking pleasure in the self and is fully satisfied, for him there is no duty left to do. So here there is a term I would want you to talk about, which is called Anandamayo. So that is when we say self-satisfied and in bliss, he's fully satiated. He has, nothing more to seek. He has sought the highest pleasure. He has already got the highest pleasure. Such a person is called to be in Anandamayo Bhyasat, which is according to the Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12. So the aim of life is to come to the platform of the highest happiness, Ananda, and where there is no distress at all, simply happiness. The Supreme Lord is actually joyful always. If you see Krishna and you see the images of Krishna or Vishnu, they are always smiling, always joyful. And we are actually part and parcel of that same very person. So we are also actually full of, basically, we are joy. There is joy we are actually Satchidanand also. So when you connect yourself to Krishna, and you actually strive to understand Krishna and stay connected with him, there is nothing else you need to do to be joyful. There is nowhere else you need to go for getting satisfaction or happiness. Because once you understand this, you have finished all your duty and everything is complete, then you reach a stage where there is nothing further to be realized or understood. You have understood the highest thing to be understood, which is the ultimate goal of this human birth, of this journey of the soul through so many births. So that is what was spoken about in this 3.17. Coming to 3.18, it says, Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kashana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kashchidartha vyapashrayah. So in 3.18, Krishna is saying that a self-realized person has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his duties, any nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. So here, what does actually Krishna consciousness do? To be good, this consciousness is like, I'm a very good man. Or when you're doing, something wrong, it's like, I'm a bad man, right? But when you become Krishna conscious, you are no longer good or bad. You become Krishna's person. I am Krishna's person. That's all, finished, all business. I am Krishna's person. If Krishna says that, my duty is to kill, I will kill. If Krishna says do that, that's all. I am Krishna's person. And immediately you become transcendental to both goodness and to badness. So if Krishna's order is what we are going to do, but that's not, we should be very clear that there is a lot of mithyachar, like I told you. It's not like at your own whims. It shouldn't be at your own whims. There is nothing wrong for a Krishna conscious person if he's truly Krishna conscious. But what we think to be materially wrong, if it is ordered by Krishna, then we do it. For example, Hanuman's example, right? Burning a whole city with fire would be considered a huge crime. But when he is doing it for Ram, it's no longer a crime. It's glorified. So, so that does not mean that the government is going to be condemned. Like, if I kill immediately, I'll be condemned. The government, the ruling, the higher purpose, has to be fulfilled. And once you are connected to that highest purpose, then everything becomes justice. I hope I'm being clear. And so, Krishna conscious person, where does he go? Right? So for him, a really Krishna conscious person is not bothered whether he's in heaven, earth, or the heavenly planets, higher planets, or earth, or the lower planets, or Goloka. He's not bothered about anything once he becomes a pure devotee. Krishna says that we can go to the sun planet in the Gita. Why does he say that? So if you say that, if suppose you say that you want to go to a particular place, there's no harm in it. You can go there. And if Krishna desires that we should go there, then we will automatically go there. So if Krishna says that you have something to do, you need to go to hell, that's all. You will be ready to go to hell also. The Srimad Bhagavatam 6.17.28, if Bhagavad Gita is like a graduation program where you understand, the basics, the Bhagavatam is actually the doctorate program where you get an in-depth understanding. And furthermore, you can read Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, leelas. So in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Swarga Pavarga Narakeshwa Api Tulyartha Darshina. So it's saying in this verse, basically, let me say it fully. It says, Narayana Paraha Sarve Na Kutaschana Bibhyati Swargapavarga narakeshwapi tulyartha darshinaha. So Narayana Para means pure devotees who are interested only in the service of Lord Narayana. Sarve, all, na, not, kutaschana, anywhere, bibhyati, are afraid. Once you become Krishna's person, and not bothered about being a good person or bad person, you become a Krishna's person by elevating yourself through the process of Krishna consciousness, by doing devotional services, then you are no longer afraid to go anywhere. It says, in the higher planetary system, Swarga and Apavarga, that is in liberation, Naraka, in hell, Api, even, Tulyartha Darshinaha, is all equal value. So it says that devotees who are only engaged in devotional service of Krishna, Narayana, they don't fear of any condition of life. They become fearless. So you must have heard, yesterday I sang the Kirtan which says Abhaya, right? It says Abhaya, Krishna's lotus feet is where you find Abhaya. You become fearless. For them, the heavenly planet, liberation, or hellish planets are all the same. And for such devotees, their only interest is to serve the Lord. So, whereas for those who are impersonalists, usually they want to just merge with the transcendence or with that, the light coming out of Krishna. They just want to merge with that in between space, which is, the energy. They just want to be one with that, and they just want to be, they have had enough of material world, of course. So, they are in a quite little bit elevated position, but that's it. Whereas when you become a devotee, then your desire is different. You're not interested in just merging. You want to be of service. And you're not bothered about where you are because you know that Krishna is there and you are part and parcel. You know all these truths, the ultimate and eternal truths. And then you are of service. You're fearless. You don't bother where you are. All you want to do is just serve. Serve Him. Because you know that is your original position. So for a Krishna conscious person, there is no difference between hell or heaven or anywhere. So so the prediction in the Kali Yuga, according to Srimad Bhagavatam. So once more, I'm just making a reference to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Eventually, because people will stop doing all these yajnas, right? Eventually, so before that, hopefully, we will, we are here together and we will get Krishna consciousness and be liberated. That is, we will understand our constitutional position and become pure devotees, hopefully. But there will be, those who are who don't who turn their face away from that, and they don't perform the yajnas. They don't come to understand the scriptures, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then the bounties provided will become less and less. Eventually, there will be less grains. There will be no milk. There will be no cows because cows will all be eaten. The fruits will be without any pulp. The prediction is, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, all these, horrific things are yet to come. And the sinful person, what happens is he will never realize that it is his mistake. And the only way that he can actually start realizing is when he will, come in good association. That is why association of devotees is very, very important. So, so here we have this example of, Prabhupada says in one of his lectures that from he's quoting from the Chanakya Pandit's talk. He says that when a snake drinks milk, it only increases their venom. Similarly, good instructions offered to fools will only make them angry, and it does not give them peace of mind. So that they never come to realize. They will never realize. So only when through good association and acceptance of that, of the learning, will provide you with the real understanding. Therefore, in the age of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has recommended in this age that we need to simply listen about Krishna from the right sources and try to stay away from those, who are trying to misguide us, who are themselves trapped in this material world, in an inescapable way. They are bound themselves and they are trying to try and free us and tell us that we are free, I'll free you, whereas they themselves are actually bound. We need to hear from those who are free and liberated, because only a liberated person can free us. We are tied up. We'll be freed only by a person whose hands are free and liberated. So we need to take Krishna's, understand Krishna from the right source. So it has been said that, for example, Krishna, he sends his representatives in the form of say, gurus. He has sent Lord Jesus Christ. He has, made all these different arrangements so that people will just understand that love God. That's it. So he says, my dear son, you don't do this, it's good. You do this. This is a duty to your father. You do this. Similarly, we are continuing our sinful activities, but there is, arrangement made by Krishna to instruct us exactly how to go back to him. So that was about 3.18. And there are further some beautiful notes about love, but I don't know, am I running out of time? It's actually 8. I would like to just make a little difference about love and talk about love and lust a little bit from the notes of Srila Prabhupada's lectures. So it has, he has clearly explained to us the difference between love and lust. So Krishna advises that basically we should all be performing sacrifices. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.52, right? In Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.52, Krishna is saying, Krite yadhyayato Vishnum tretayam yajato makhaihi Vapare paricharyayam kalau tad harikirtanat. So Krishna says that whatever result, in the Satyuga, the sacrifice used to be done by meditation on Vishnu. In the Treta Yuga, it was done by performing sacrifices. In the Dwapar Yuga, this same sacrifice, how important is the sacrifice I've already discussed, used to be done by serving the lotus feet, by serving the deities. And in Kali Yuga, it is simply done by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by simply chanting the Lord's names. So actually, this whole process of the human civilization, it is to acquire the love of God. So our love right now is actually distributed among so many things. It is misdistributed. The whole thing is that we should target our love to the Supreme Lord, right? So when you're misdirected, we are now lost in a misdirected civilization. So what Srila Prabhupada is explaining is that this misdirected concept where you love your wife is, they're not saying don't love your wife or your children or your country. Love him, but love them through Krishna. First understand Krishna, then only it was love, otherwise it is actually lust. He explains that very clearly. It requires a little bit of thinking. So he says that the way we are loving now is actually imperfect, it is unscientific. Krishna consciousness is a perfect science. And the way we are loving now, loving everything without loving God, I want to love my wife, but that love is actually not perfect. So what is perfect love? And how is it we conduct that perfect love? It's a defect of our civilization that we're accepting, the things that we're accepting as love is actually mere sense gratification. It's difficult for us to accept this because we think that our love is very pure, but love actually is a different thing. Why the love is defective in the material world? Why is the love defective in the material world? Because it is actually not properly discharged. So if you will, if I can, take a little more time to talk about this verse 3.18 a little more. So for example, if you're loving you're loving your body, right? So how do you take care of it? You have to give it nutritious food. You will have all the vitamins, and you will provide the food through your mouth. Now you have, these 9 orifices in your body, but you're not going to use any other orifice to provide food to the body, right? You need to provide it through your mouth. So if you have to love, you have to love through God. Otherwise, it's not love, it is artificial love. It's like supplying foodstuffs, say, through the rectum or something. It's so troublesome. So without loving God, if you want to love anybody, it's actually, the scriptures tell us that it is actually false manifestation. It is, it is equivalent to lust. So there will be a lot of discussion about lust in the last part of this chapter. So that's why we are focusing a little bit on that. So for example, in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.31.14, there is this verse which says, यथा तरोर्मूलनिषेचनेन तृप्यन्ति तस्कन्धभुजोपशाखाः प्राणोपहारा च यथेन्द्रियाणां तथैव सर्वार्हणमच्युतेजा. So it says that, just as pouring water on the root of a tree energizes the trunk, the branches, the twigs, and everything else, similarly, supplying food to the stomach, through the mouth, it enlivens the senses and the limbs of the body. Similarly, the analogy is that when you worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead and you accept Him, Krishna, then through your devotional service, automatically you will satisfy all the different demigods, and you have achieved and understood what is the real purpose of your life. So just like pouring water is to be done in the root and not on all the other parts, or when you are eating something, you need to put it through into your mouth and not through other orifices. It has to go through your stomach. That is a proper way of it. Similarly, we need to understand this circle of sacrifice and how it actually is all leading to Krishna. And when we directly please Krishna, all the demigods become pleased because all the demigods are part and parcel of Krishna. And then the whole circle is complete. It becomes a perfectly nice circle. And how are we supposed to do all our work? We're supposed to do niyatam kuru karma. In 3.8 it says niyatam, you need to do your prescribed duty, and you need to maintain your physical body also. And that is how we will reach the ultimate purpose. And what is the ultimate purpose? What is the ultimate purpose? We've been repeating that several times, but let me just say it once more from the verse 15.6, which says yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. Krishna is beautifully explaining the spiritual world, which we are totally blind. The scriptures are telling us, but we have to be ready to understand and accept it. Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, verse 6, that abode of mine, which is not illuminated by sun or moon or electricity. Can you imagine this world if there was no sun, no moon, no electricity? It would be perpetually in darkness. So, this abode, which is spiritual, it is actually, there's no illumination required because it is, Krishna's abode. One who reaches there, one who has realized, himself, that self realization in its true purport, one has understood, that I am spirit soul and my purpose is to serve Krishna, who is the Lord of the universe. And then that is when you'll be able to reach that spiritual world and never return back to this material world. You'll be free from this eternal cycle of birth and death. So that is the reason why we need to understand that in this generation, this Kali Yuga, our aim is to chant and to constantly try to remember Krishna. And the chanting is done in the early morning time because we need to do our work in the normal day. So people who once become, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So if somebody is unable to take the devotional service, unable to get up early and start chanting, unable to do these different practices which lead us to Krishna, that means he has not truly understood. So only when the person is actually starting to do all these various things, you already see person who's serving in the temple, that whole temple is actually not material, it's transcendental, because the people there are realized and they are serving Krishna with complete devotion. And so it's like, suppose inside a country there is a little embassy, right? That, and people inside that embassy, they are not they are free from the punishments of that particular country, right? Similarly, that place, that temple and the deity is so holy, it's pure, it's free from any kind of consequences, because they are, those who are doing that, they are self-realized people. So coming back to the verse of the different sacrifices of different ages, in Satyuga, which is called the golden age, people used to realize themselves through meditation. So like I explained about Valmiki and all that, right? So they had their lifespan of 100,000 years was the lifespan. So you might be like, I can't believe that. So then that's what scriptures say. Once you take the scriptures and then you understand this is the word of the God and you accept it, there you go, you get the understanding, or you're lost. Krishna will say that those who don't accept, they'll be lost and they will miss out on the bliss of understanding Krishna. So then in the Treta Yuga, those who live in the Treta Yuga, their lifespan was about 10,000 years, was about Dwapar Yuga, it was about 1,000 years, and in Kali Yuga, it's 100 years. Now, of course, it has come down to 60, 70, 80 or so, and then eventually it's going to be further reduced, the average lifespan that is. So, what should we do right now? right? So there is this beautiful verse again in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll just conclude with 3. Tomorrow we'll start from 3.19 next week, and I really want to finish 3 like next time. I was just actually I'm already covering the chapter that which is going to come also. For example, last I'm covering a lot of it now, so I think we'll be able to do it faster in the next week. So I just want to talk about these 9 kinds of worship. You know, how suppose I'm going on talk about devotional service and how important it is. And how do you do that? So Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23 tells us Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Pada Sevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. So these are the different 9 ways by which you can do this. It begins with Shravanam. Right now you're all already doing Shravanam, you're listening. And then there are 6 principles which are favorable. Firstly, you have to be very enthusiastic. You need to have the enthusiasm to do it. So there is Ravi Prabhu has put the attendance. Please, I would like request all of you before you leave the meeting, please mark your attendance for the level 2 today's class. I'll just conclude with this 6 principles of devotional service, which is being enthusiastic, and you have to endeavor to know Krishna with confidence, and you have to be very patient. You have to act according to different regulative principles, such as the Shravanam, Kirtanam, the hearing, chanting, remembering Krishna. You have to abandon association of non-devotees or atheists or agnostics or impersonalists, because they are going to misguide you and trap you more and more into Maya. And you have to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas and accept the Guru's words, because they are free. So these are the 6 principles which will undoubtedly lead you to assured and complete success of pure devotional service. So Kali Yuga, the details which are there as per where we are right now, the scriptures give us a lot of knowledge. It says that from the Vedic scriptures we understand that the Kali Yuga is is like 4,32,000 years, out of which only 5,000 years have passed now, right? So Kali Yuga has begun as soon as the Mahabharata war was over, and Krishna, Krishna was no longer there. From that point of time, Krishna is always there, of course, but when he, you know, he disappeared from here in the form that he presented himself in. From then, the Kali Yuga has started, and so now we have 4,32 minus 32,000 minus 5, which is 4,27,000 more years are there. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came, he is also an incarnation of Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is, there are scriptures which explain about his appearance. He came just 500 years ago, and so we are very lucky. We can go in Bengal, in the district of Navadvip, which is about 60 miles from Calcutta, and where he talks about what yajna is suitable for us. And he has brought about the Sankirtan yajna afresh, not that it wasn't there earlier, but he talks about how Sankirtan yajna, that is, when you come into congregational groups and you chant together, and you bring about more and more devotees to the understanding of Krishna, that is when you will, that speeds up your process of realizing yourself. So, for example, the Bhagavad Gita 6.22 tells us, Yan labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tatam yasmin sito na dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. So, once you come to this final understanding, what is the benefit? The benefit is that you will come to the understanding that there is no greater gain. Once you understand this, when you're situated in this position, you can never be shaken again. Even in the midst of the greatest difficulty, you will not be shaken. So that is what the Bhagavad Gita 6.22 is telling us, that the perfection of this Krishna consciousness is to reach a state of samadhi, where your mind is restrained from mental activities simply by practicing yoga or consciousness of Krishna. And this characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and rejoice in oneself and reaching that perfectly joyous state. So that is the reason why we need to do Sankirtana, we need to be chanting, and it is very, very important for us to remove the main impediment in our understanding of Krishna, which is, the progress in the spiritual realization is only caused by our misunderstanding of identification of ourself as our body. The moment we will be able to understand that we are not this body, we are spirit soul, that is when our spiritual journey will begin in the first place. One who identifies, so in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.84.13, it says, Yasyatma buddhi kunape, no, the tune is, Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke swadhi kalatra Dishu bhauma ijjati yatirtha buddhi salile na karhe che Janeshwa Bhigneshwa Sa Eva Gokharaha. So one who identifies his self as an inert body composed of all his mucus, bile, and air, and who assumes his wife and family as permanently his own, who thinks that the earthen image or the land of his birth is the only worshipable thing, and who sees a place of pilgrimage as just water there, but who never identifies himself and feels kinship with or worships or even visits those who are wise, who are there to give you all this knowledge, and who is giving you these scriptural knowledge, and they are no better than a cow or an ass. So I had already referred to this Gokhara verse before, and so I think we've come round it somewhere somehow. I hope so. We have made it a circle of understanding the circle of sacrifice a little better. Only proceeded to 3.18. I'm sorry for that, and I hope we can go at a slightly faster rate. Anybody has anything to share about this? Or I hope I've not hurt anybody's sentiments, and that I'm only trying to bring forth what I understand through the scriptures. So please pardon me if I have made any errors. Hare Krishna, would anybody like to share? Sorry for taking the extra 20 minutes and still reaching only 3.18. Hare Krishna, anybody would like to share something? Should I end the class? Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna Mataji, it's wonderful class.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Okay. Thank you. We'll start from 3.19 next class. Hare